Okay, I think we can back in just a moment. Well, we are back. We're back, but I'm still stuck in this endless loop of where I cannot escape. Conveniently, like that deck Derek was talking about. Ain't that funny?
I didn't hear exactly what you just.
I said I was stuck in that death loop. Conveniently, like Derek's he was talking about.
Oh, well, anyways, Magic has also Zinker. To be fair, there are some occurrences in Magic where or someone can technically win or win before you have your like third or fourth turn, but they're on their 15th turn.
Okay, so. All right, so what you're saying is somehow, like.
So I don't really know how you want to count that.
So.
There's a deck in Modern called Taking Turns.
18 turns.
In that deck,
which is a ridiculous amount of time.
If it wasn't clear already,
for a competitive card game.
You take extra turns.
That's like an hour. That is like a 2-hour-long match in a multiplayer game.
Well, no, because your turns go fast.
Well, yeah,
Zinker, if you're on turn 15 and your opponent's on turn 3, that means you took like 12 turns in a row. You probably went through them a lot quicker than, or you probably went through them fairly quickly. Hopefully, if you're not an anus. I have seen.
Do I just have to play the game?
There's a story I love that I've heard where there was someone who basically like was playing Taking Turns. Their opponent F6, which basically just means, and they like got up and like walked away from the table. Which F6 basically means I have no interaction. Just do your thing. And then like 30 minutes later, the person won.
Nice. That sounds totally fair and balanced.
These are rare occurrences in Magic. Most people don't play Taking Turns, and most people hate people for playing Taking Turns.
What the?
Kind of like how you hate me for playing Melodious.
I don't hate you for playing Melodious.
I
like fighting all your decks. They're all interesting and, well, not all your decks. They're all. I hate Gem Knights, for fuck's sakes. Those pieces of shit can fucking burn in hell. But I like fighting all your decks. I genuinely enjoy the archetype system in fucking Yu-Gi-Oh! I think it's fun. You have like a set way of interacting with stuff, and then but you can change up. Like, even though you have like that limit on how the archetypes work, there's like so many different ways you can flip that whole deck idea around. That's what I love about fucking Yu-Gi-Oh!
Magic has lots of ways you can do stuff too. It has like insane variety compared to Yu-Gi-Oh!
No, but see, alright, so here's the deal, right? Let me compare Little Big Planet and Halo Forge, right? Little Big Planet has a massive editor, and it's great, by the way. It's fucking fantastic. So it's not the best comparison, because, Magic isn't the best comparison. But, Magic's case is a Little Big Planet. It has all these different tools and ways to do this stuff, and it's great, and you can make the most amazing masterpieces ever, and it's cool. And then you have, like, Halo Forge, and you can make the same level of masterpieces, but you're limited. You have, like, all these limits on what you can or can't do. And to me, that's just fucking brilliant. I love that. I love that. Like you're in a sense limited. Like Spiral is a deck that's all about seeing your opponent's cards and sort of controlling what they do, but not too much. More not even preventing them from playing it. Actually, it's just really Spiral is just about knowing what your opponent has. It's about spying. But see, the way I took Spiral is I designed it so you can force people to not be able to use stuff they have, or make them get rid of stuff they have.
That's a deck in Magic.
I don't fucking care. It's a deck in Magic. Derek, my deck is not gonna take 20 turns to finish, or 10 turns in your case.
Well, neither is the one in Magic.
Is it longer?
No, well, it's not longer than that. But like, it's probably slightly longer than Yu-Gi-Oh. That's because you have lands, which give you a limit. It get a lot more of a limiting factor than just
That's also
having
stupid.
like how many
so
cards
like
you have in
you're
hand.
limited by lands. And this is the problem I have. What Yu-Gi-Oh kind of link. I was a little open to it, but I'm kind of less into it now. Now, so like everything you can do is completely limited on what lands you have. Same how like everything you can do in Yu-Gi-Oh now, when it's not a good change, it's not that great of a change, is limited around whether you have links or not. And I'm not the biggest fan. I mean, I haven't really tried the link format, to be fair, because I have no one to fucking play Yu-Gi-Oh with anymore. But so maybe it is good, but you know, I don't like the idea that I liked some of their nerfs. Like I liked how they nerfed Pendulum. That's fine. Pendulum was a little stupid, stupidly broken. But this is also a fucking ridiculously perfect thing. Like they're a little strong, but they fixed it by limiting your spell and trap. Well, they mostly fixed it by limiting your spell and trap zones. But what was I gonna say? Links, like you're now required to have links, pretty much, unless you want just one extra deck monster on the field. Which is, it's like, I don't want to build my deck around having those kinds of limits unless that's sort of like the gimmick, you know? Like Spiral needs its own cards in order to survive, but like
one of the gimmicks from Magic that has.
Here, Derek, let me put it this way. It is
one of
more
the gimmicks
likelier
for Magic that has been
for
a
you
case
in
since its
Magic
origin is lands. It's not.
It's more likelier for
like,
you.
If links.
It's more likelier
for you.
If links
always existed in
It's
Yu-Gi-Oh,
more likelier for you.
Wouldn't think anything of.
In Magic to draw a hand and not be able to do anything than in Yu-Gi-Oh.
That's why you build your deck so you more likely than not can do something.
Well, you do the same
also,
in
you
Yu-Gi-Oh!
draw more cards to compensate for that. You start with a hand of 7 instead of 5. You have 60 card decks. You also have the Mulligan rule, which Yu-Gi-Oh! Does not have.
Well, you can just make one. Just probably like competitively, it's not a thing. But yeah, but see, that's the thing. So like, if you fucking don't get any lands, you can discard your
Zinker,
entire
there are
hand
some decks.
And lose one card.
There are some decks that their strategy revolves around taking a mulligan because of how mulligans can potentially work. There's actually a deck I really want to build that intentionally tries to take a couple of mulligans.
Nice. Anyhow, what I'm saying is, it's annoying. It's just an annoying aspect, you know. But I can't wait to see that Netflix series, 18 episodes of neither person having lands and not being able to do anything. Thanks, Russo brothers. You won't see that shit in Yu-Gi-Oh! You know when a Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel is going to happen. You know something's gonna happen. You always can count on that. You don't. Nothing will happen in the Magic one.
Magic has a lot more interesting things than I think you give it credit for. And I think if you try playing it, you might have like you might see a little bit more of it. If nothing else, Magic. One thing I think Magic has done and always will do better than Yu-Gi-Oh, and I don't think there's much room for arguing, is limited play. Playing it or going to events and playing limited, where you think with what you get that day. Yu-Gi-Oh kind of like played with it with like their battle packs, where like you in theory could build something with them because they were very universal. They were set to be very universal and mostly I think monster based. But like Magic's been doing that forever.
I think Yu-Gi-Oh used to be like that.
They do have a very good setup.
But now it's so
Yu-Gi-Oh
weird.
used to be like that, and then they did archetypes.
Yeah, well, archetypes isn't even a problem, right? If you have like a booster pack that's mostly dedicated to like 3 or 4 archetypes, like that's fine. Like if most of the Dynamis cards, like you're talking about like what? There's like 8 Dynamis cards. Wait, what is it? Yeah, so there's like about 8 different Dynamis cards, right? Monster, what? No, how many? What am I saying? There's 8 Dynamis monster cards, and then there's like two spells, and a field spell. that's not doesn't have Dynamis in the name. And then there's 2 traps. No, there's 3 Dynamis traps, 1 Dynamis spell, and
yes, but
no, hold
there
on.
are a decent
Don't
amount of
interrupt me.
cards.
Jeez, don't shh. What the fuck was I saying? So there's 1 Dynamis spell plus a field Dynamis spell. And then there's 3 Dynamis traps, and there's a total of 8 Dynamis monsters total as of right now. Also, that was stupid that I just died that way. I'm really pissed. And how those cards are released? Actually, they're actually kind of released like this, but you know how most archetypes are released. You get like 4 or 5 cards to begin with, so maybe you get like 3 of the Dynamis monsters, and then like maybe like a spell or 2 or a trap or 2, and then Yu-Gi-Oh does not and then that's it. That's all. And then there's a bunch of other archetypes too. So there's like 6 cards in that pack, single pack, max if. And then they just released, like, in the next booster pack, they add another 2, which is cool, because it's nice to see support added for your thing. But then you don't get that, like, initial, like, you don't get, like, if you do just a pull of a single booster pack, you don't get that initial, like, you can't make anything out of it, because they just, they don't put a lot of, cards in it. If, like, Dynamis, most of the Dynamis cards were in, say, 1 pack, like, say 8 of them, and then just you know, in a few later ones they occasionally introduce like a new support member for Dynamis as it goes on. That'd be cool. And if you just had like booster packs that were just around you know, like making decks that way, you wouldn't get like the most perfect competitive deck, but you get like an interesting deck to play. I remember we did that. I think I bought a booster box or something, and there just wasn't, you know, there isn't really anything to make a deck out of because nothing of it works together. So in a way, I agree.
Which is where Yu-Gi-Oh does stuff.
But I think, well,
another thing to keep in mind is Yu-Gi-Oh also does have a lot. Yu-Gi-Oh does tend to make things where they only work with their archetype and are virtually useless without it. A terrible example is Spark Blaster or whatever, which I think only works with Sparkman. With Elemental
they did
Hero
that a
Sparkman,
lot, especially in early,
which is
where
very
it
old
worked
card
with just one monster, which is bad.
Yes.
Instead of just the archetype.
But there are also,
no,
I know, some monsters
that's not correct at all.
Can only.
Well,
there's some things that can only be special summoned if you control something in like a certain archetype, or like can only be special summoned in a certain way, or like ritual. There's always ritual cards too.
Anyhow,
where like you have the ritual card but not the monster, or vice versa. They're virtually useless.
Yeah,
limited.
Which they fixed a lot of ritual monsters with additional ritual cards. But that makes
also
some
extra
of those cards
deck would be kind of difficult.
But anyhow,
could be difficult.
No, you're not even correct about that though. That is an assumption you've always made that's just not true. Probably about a quarter of the booster packs, maybe a fifth to a quarter of the booster packs, all star just regular cards that can support just about anything. Well, not just about anything necessarily. Like some of them are more likely to be staples than others, but you know, they're like generic cards. They aren't set to a specific archetype, and you can use them in whatever. They're not always all good.
Yeah, I guess they have been better about that. Than they
even
used
when
to be.
not even recently. Like even when we were playing, they were doing that.
I'm not saying like just recent. I know. I'm for the most part. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. I don't know. But my point still stands that one thing I think Magic does and will always do better is their limited format, because that's how they release sets in with the intention of, well, of course some cards are meant for other play, like Battle of Wits, where if you play it and you happen to have 200 cards it's still in your deck, you win. You're probably not going to play that in a limited tournament because you only get a pool of 90. And albeit you could stuff your deck, you can stuff your deck full of lands. There's no limit to how many lands you can put in from outside of like the packs that you pull. So you could just stuff it with lands and just pray. But that's but for the most part,
what a strategy.
like that card is not meant for limited. But for the most part, the cards that they print each set are marketed for that's how their rarity is set up. It's solely for the purpose.
You know what? I actually.
It's mostly for the purpose of limited.
I'm not even sure about that. Like Yu-Gi-Oh is not good at that though. I think especially with the recent. Well, Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't work sort of like that. They have like what? They have like fucking generations of booster packs, right? Well, I guess that's like their whole set, but they're like segmented, I think. Either or. If we, I bet you if we took like the last 4 booster packs of Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever, I bet you and we just did like a poll of them, they would make interesting decks. We should do that. It's something I want to do in the show, but the only reason we're not doing it for the show, well, not Speletons, but I want to make a show for this. So I actually want to just buy booster boxes of Yu-Gi-Oh, open them, and then just fucking duel with them. But we're, you're not here, so that doesn't really work.
Costs money.
And it costs, well, whatever. I can afford $80 once every 2 months. It's not a big deal.
I mean, I have like a camera to like record stuff, so in theory we could do it when I come up for Kineticon.
Yeah, but I want it to be like a regular thing, not just like a one-off thing. Be cool. I'd fucking love that. We could do it when you come up for Kineticon. Someday in the future, maybe. We'll be able to make a more interesting one. I guess I will just. I mean, this level basically plays itself anyhow, right? So I'll just sit here in the middle and not move until I guess I have to move here.
Building limited for Yu-Gi-Oh I will admit, building limited for Yu-Gi-Oh does interest me because, like, I've played a lot of limited Magic, and I'm really good at deck building. That's like probably the thing I'm the best at. Is just like deck building, and limited is limited.
I can't believe you don't like Star Realms, given that.
At least for Magic, playing limited is just a completely different world.
I miss Star Realms. That was actually a fun game.
I just never tried it really. It's such a completely different world because, like, for one, removal is incredibly valuable. You don't have like you don't have as many assets to work with. You a lot of like cards that are like commons or like things that you pull in that you'd never put in something just because it's shit. Like Mushroom Man. In limited, you might play Mushroom Man. Because
well, no, you never would, because Mushroom Man was like one of the first things released.
But Zinker, you might play it in limited because it's a monster and you might need it.
Well, you can't if you don't.
Let me
get
put it
in
this
a
way:
booster
if
pack,
you have an XYZ
how the fuck are you gonna play Mushroom Man?
XYZ that needs.
You can't just.
If you have an XYZ in your pool that needs 2 of whatever its level is, that I don't remember. I don't know if it's level 2 or 3. And he's one of the, and you only have 3 in your pool, and you want to be able to play this XYZ, you might play Mushroom Man because he's one of the only guys you got that can pull out the bigger dude.
Yeah.
Your XYZ. You might just end up playing him.
Whatever. This episode's over. Bye.